Happening now, mounting tensions on the streets in Egypt as security forces step up their crackdown on supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi, resulting in hundreds of deaths since last week. Meanwhile, an Egyptian court ordering the release of former President Hosni Mubarak, but it's not yet clear if the ailing ex-leader will walk after 2 years behind bars. All of this as the administration weighs its options on aid to this crucial Mideast ally. And Jessie Jane Duff, she's a retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant and advisory member for the Concerned Veterans for America Committee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to ask you first about the aid to Egypt. Washington seems to be divided on the issue on sending the aid. It looks like the president wants to freeze the joint exercises, but not yet cut aid. And then you have other legislators, Senator John McCain amongst them, who want to immediately freeze aid. What, in your opinion, should we do?
Well, right now, I think John McCain is in error with his judgment because he stated that this was a Democratic election, but it was not a Democratic government. The Constitution had been completely redone by Morsi. And when you are starting to suppress your people and cause the hardship upon the Egyptians that they did, we need to recognize that they seek freedom. So our aid, I have to side with the president on this. Unfortunately, he did not send a clear message of support to the Egyptian people all along. And now they don't trust us. So now we're hanging on the fence with our aid. But guess what? Saudi Arabia is coming forward with $12 billion in aid. That's going to make our $1.5 billion look like a drop in the bucket because they are backing the army in this decision.
And I want to ask you a little bit more about the image that we have and the image problem that's been discussed in relation to Egypt. You know, initially we backed Morsi as a result of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now we have both sides who aren't happy with us. How do we resolve this?
We have been in this turbulence for some time. The initial riots that occurred on July 3rd were against our own ambassador, Ann Patterson, because we were sending very unclear messages. And the Obama administration had basically told General el-Sisi, please negotiate, please work with the Muslim Brotherhood, make everything work out. And General Sisi basically said no way, and he has squelched them. And he's getting massive support from the Gulf countries that are in that area, including Israel. Now, when we start seeing Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and all of these countries teaming together, I think the United States needs to recognize if we fall off with our support with Egypt, guess what? We are now making an indication that we support the Muslim Brotherhood. If the Muslim Brotherhood should win this battle, we can say goodbye to the Sinai. We can say goodbye to the peace agreement that we have in place right now, that they have in place with Israel. This will all dissolve. I think the United States needs to make a very clear message that they support democracy and encourage el-Sisi to get a democratic government in place as soon as possible.
You know, Gunnery Sergeant Duff, you were 20 years active duty in the United States Marine Corps. So speak to me in terms of your personal experience as such. Other active duty troops who are watching this situation unfold in Egypt, also across other areas of the Mideast, what are they thinking as they're watching? What do they think needs to be done?
You know, I think right now active duty that has served anywhere off into the Middle East, I mean, we've had problems over there for many, many, many years. I mean, starting prior to Desert Storm. I think active duty needs to look at our government and see that we have a decisive measure. And right now, the Obama administration has done anything but that. General el-Sisi has made a very clear statement to the administration. If you don't support the Egyptians, we will never forget. That was said roughly a week and a half ago. So I think our active duty is depending upon our commander-in-chief to make decisive decisions. Right now, the Muslim Brotherhood is dissolving our Coptic Christian churches over there. They're being lit up on fire, and all of us on active duty understand what religious freedom is all about. So we have to send a message that we support a strong government. We have to help General el-Sisi make that happen. But if we turn our backs and we withdraw from this in every way, we can watch Israel have serious problems and the Sinai, which means our active duty is back in the desert.
Absolutely. Coptic Christians making up 10% of the population there in Egypt and definitely being targeted. Gunnery Sergeant Duff, thank you so much for joining us and for your expertise.
Thank you for having me.